Oh, perfect.
There are potential consequences in terms of eating too much meat. And if you're only eating meat, it's very likely you will be eating too much meat. So, too much meat presents risks of things like too much saturated fat.
Saturated
And
fat. Is
the
that
problem
true? Are you
and the
scared?
problem with that is what?
Yeah, she doesn't cite
The
any evidence.
I hate these, I hate these people that stop at, this thing's terrible for you, but then never go on to explain what that terrible thing
Exactly.
is.
What the mechanism is behind it, any real evidence. I mean, there's a
It's
meta-analysis showing that saturated fat's not bad for you. So there is plenty of
mm,
evidence out there showing that. But there's so many confounders in there that it doesn't matter. I mean, basically all they have is epidemiology showing that eating McDonald's hamburgers increases your risk for cardiovascular disease. So there's too many confounders in there to really use any of that evidence.
honestly, I feel it's the same, when you get the cholesterol argument as well. It's like, oh, but saturated fat's going to make your cholesterol go so high. And then the conversation just stops.
Yeah.
Like there's no further explanation. What's bad about cholesterol? It's just like you've just got to accept high cholesterol is bad.
Yeah, when it comes to the cholesterol argument, which I think she's about to make, I mean, she just says the bad cholesterol as if LDL is bad. I mean, we wouldn't be able to survive without LDL cholesterol. If your LDL cholesterol was zero, you'd be dead. This is coming from Australia where, Dr. Fecky was reprimanded and almost lost his license for saying that sugar and cereal are bad for you, you know. But
It's crazy trying to help his patients keep their limbs by telling them to cut out the sugar and cut out the this and the that, and it's
yeah,
like no, 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 you don't do that.
yeah. Well, you got to love the corporate interests. But,
Mm.
the thing that really bugs me the most is like, there's no logic behind any of these arguments. Like, apparently, according to this woman, we're the only animal on the planet that should not be eating a diet that's natural to us, right?
Mm.
Like, meat has been killing us. That's the food that we evolved on. That's why our brains are the way they are. That's why we have the musculature and everything that we have. That's exactly what we've evolved on. So you're saying that
Mm.
all that time we're a suicidal species and we've been eating exactly what's been killing us all these millions of years. It's crazy.
Exactly. I always kind of come back to that argument. It's like, how did we get to where we are now if this is so bad for us?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah.
certainly didn't get to where we are by eating a plant-based diet, right? So,
Saturated fat increases our risk of the bad cholesterol going high in our blood.
oh, bad cholesterol. Yes, LDL is
Uh,
bad.
the bad cholesterol.
The bad cholesterol. It's going to kill you if you have LDL.
Yeah, and look,
Or
she's
it's
closing her eyes, so that
yeah.
means she knows what she's talking about.
Exactly. It's of course, completely um not taking into account particle size or anything else into that equation, HDL, triglycerides, as if nothing else matters. You have high
No,
LDL, you're going to have heart disease.
you've got to understand, if she had to get into the nuance of something like that, she would lose customers. She'd be out of a job. It's a lot harder to convince someone that they need to test their LDL and find out if it is actually, in fact, bad before she makes a diagnosis. It's much easier to just say, that's bad LDL. Have a consultation with me so I can recommend what you should be eating to get your LDL down because it's bad.
Yeah. Well, why is it that people who fast or people who lose weight dramatically, their LDL increases, quite dramatically? Is it
Mm.
because losing weight is going to kill you or fasting is going to kill you? I mean, it's kind of a silly argument to make.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Which increases our risk of heart disease and cardiovascular disease. And they're going to be very low in all of the other good things that come in our other foods, our vitamin C, our fiber, our vitamin K.
oh my God.
So
Oh my God.
all
No,
the
I'm
all
done here,
the other
Dave.
good things, all the other good things like fiber, Yes,
I
because
can't.
where would we be if we weren't clogging up our system with fiber?
If we weren't shitting our pants every day, like I was eating all this fiber, trying to fix my gut issues when that was the cause of my gut
The
issues.
cause of it. Yeah.
But vitamin C, we've already covered. Vitamin K, honestly, that makes me want to get out of my seat right now. Like, how is this person nutritionist? Where do you get your vitamin K2 from, you moron? Where do you get your vitamin K2 from? You don't get it from plant foods. There's zero bioavailable K2 in plant foods. It's all in meat. K1,
Yeah.
you could get a little bit of K1 from meat. Mostly K1 is in plant foods. But how do we mostly synthesize vitamin D through vitamin K2, not vitamin K1? So that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah. I suppose at some point she's also going to tell us how we're missing out on all our phytonutrients.
Phytonutrients.
But no one's ever been able to tell me what a phytonutrient does for us.
Yeah.
They just say you need phytonutrients, but they never tell you what they're for.
Yeah. You know, I'd rather have oxidants. I'd rather have a high oxidant diet than an antioxidant diet. How about you, Dave? Do you like the oxidants?
I'd love some oxidants.
I love some oxidants. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always, vitamin C or fiber. Those are the two main things. Fiber feeds the good bacteria. Meat feeds the bad bacteria. It's like, okay, where's your evidence for that? Show me one study that shows anything of the sort, that meat feeds bad bacteria. And how would that make sense evolutionarily speaking? Zero,
Yeah. It would make no sense. I mean, to believe a nutritionist about everything they say, we would have to believe that humans are the only species to have evolved badly, to have evolved in such a way that our body literally sabotages our well-being.
Yeah.
And we have to have packaged products and dig things out of the ground to eat in order to counteract what our body's doing to us.
Yeah. And what about all the nutrients you're missing from a diet that's deficient in meat products, right? Like choline, K2, like I just mentioned, preformed vitamin A, heme iron. I mean, vitamin D, you don't get from anything but meat, or eggs or whatever, or fish. So, how deficient is her diet?
Yeah, she probably just sprays them on her cornflakes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any carnivores that supplement with vitamins. Do you?
No, I don't supplement with anything at all.
What vitamin do you have to supplement when you're a carnivore? We have carnivores out there who have been strict carnivore for decades, and they're not taking vitamin C. They're not taking B vitamins like vegans are, and all this crap, synthetic
The only
vitamins.
thing that even resembles a supplement that I'm taking, that I'm adding in extra to my diet, is salt. That's it.
Salt, yeah.
That's it. And everything is, of course, my my blood work, they say my LDL, I need to do something about it. But that's just because they're going by their standard measures. But other than that, everything's perfect.
Yeah. In fact, all my inflammatory markers like went rock bottom. Like my was CRP was pretty high. It was getting close to 1 at one point, which is pretty high for the average. And last time I checked, it was like 0.1 or was 0.2 or something like that. So when I was on an all meat diet, my CRP just tanked. My inflammation just got wiped out. It was great. So anyway.
They're primarily from plant sources.
What are the possible negative consequences of lacking those things in your diet?
Vitamin C is really important for preventing things like scurvy. So the
like scurvy.
So stop eating all that fucking spaghetti, you moron. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
Cut back on the carbs. You're going to lose a shit ton of weight, and your requirement for vitamin C will go next to nothing. How about that?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Cut out the pasta, cut out the rice, cut out the bread,
The breakfast
The
cereal, which is
cornflakes.
apparently
Yeah.
so good for you, according to this woman. Go
Yeah.
get your breakfast cereal. You know,
Yeah.
your
Cut
frosted
out
mini
all the
wheats.
junk and you won't have to worry about scurvy.
Yeah.
Or so should I say scurvy?
Or obesity or autoimmunity or cancer for that matter or anything else.
Hmm.
The old illness that sailors used to get from not being able to eat any fresh fruit, where your gums start bleeding, old scars start.
God.
Can I just say, before we actually talk about that thing, she looks way too happy to be discussing this kind of topic.
Yeah.
She looks excited to talk about it. It's like,
Talk about
woohoo, this is my
how like
first
2
day
million
on
sailors
radio.
died from eating sailors biscuits,
Yeah.
which had nothing to do with meat whatsoever. You know, they were eating this bread that had no nutrition in it.
Mm.
They call them sailors biscuits. It's just flour and salt for months on end.
Because like the people that were higher up in rank on the ships, they were able to eat meat, right? So they
Yeah,
didn't
and
get
they didn't
scurvy.
get scurvy. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But these sailors were just eating literally these biscuits that had zero nutrition in them. It was just flour.
Mm.
You know, and these idiot nutritionists come on here. It's because they're eating an all meat diet. Like, really, you really think they were sitting around eating steak and liver? We're crying out
If
loud.
they just had oranges on the ship.
Yeah, they just had oranges. Yeah, if they had eaten an all meat diet, there wouldn't have been no problem.
Mm.
Eventually, they introduced limes into their diet, so they did like lime juice. That's why you hear that old saying, limey. Limey. You hear
Ah,
about
that's where that
pirates.
comes from.
That's where it comes from. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
So they were eating their sailor's biscuits with a bit of lime juice, and that did the trick to prevent scurvy.
Okay.
Interesting.
Mm.
Opening up, you can't heal wounds properly. That's not a very pleasant way to live.
Sounds like a
Fiber's really
zombie
important.
film.
Yeah, it really eat all meat and get scurvy. Yeah, that does sound like a zombie film.
Okay.
Or eat all carbs and get type 2 diabetes.
Yeah. I think that sounds more like a zombie film because it's not just the diabetes either. It's it's the diabetes, it's the obesity, it's the heart disease, it's the everything.
Yeah.
Like it's the limbs coming off,
Why is it that nutritionists are always the unhealthiest looking people?
Right?
And I'm not saying I look healthy. I'm not the healthiest person around, but it's not because of my diet.
Yeah. It's like the nutritionists or the dietitians, they always look pretty unhealthy. And, like someone else I was watching the other day, that Dr. Michael Greger, I mean,
Oh,
he's a
God.
doctor, a plant-based advocate. Someone who's on a plant-based diet looks sick.
He looks like he's 70 years old.
Yeah.
And how old are you, Dave?
48.
48. He's like the exact same age as you.
Really?
Wait, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like
He looks 10
49.
years older. He looks at least 10 years older.
At least. Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Mm.
And fiber is really important for our gut health. So our gut bacteria actually make some of the nutrients that we use in our body, as well as providing a lot of important signaling molecules that do things like tell us that we're full.
So when I was eating a predominantly a carb loaded diet, there was no signaling that I was ever full. I
Oh
was
my
just
God, it's the worst.
eat and eat and eat
Yeah.
and eat. It doesn't matter how much fiber I had.
The only way the fiber would stop me from eating more is because I would get so bloated and so gassy from the fiber that I just couldn't eat anymore.
Yeah,
But
like
if
you
you
get
eat
that uncomfortably full.
Yeah, if you eat a bowl of
Yeah.
rice or something like that, oh my God, I could just eat rice all night long, or I could eat candy bars all night long. You don't feel full from that food. You're going to feel full and satisfied. I think everyone would say this from fat and protein.
And this is one of the things that nutritionists, dietitians, whatever, they rely on. they just say the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And eventually people just go, oh, well, that's the way it is.
It must be
And
true. She
it's
said
true.
so.
Yeah.
It's just, and this is the same way it is with medicine, right? It's like things get passed down generation over generation. They're not up to date on any research. You know, they're relying on stuff from the 50s. And this is just, again, just dogma getting passed down, bunch of dribble, you know.
Or do things like help us regulate our blood sugar and
Oh, well, you know what helps regulate blood sugar, Dave?
What's that?
To stop eating fucking carbohydrates.
Right.
Fat and protein won't spike your blood sugar, Miss Nutritionist. So maybe you should learn a little. And are we really going to take advice from her as to how not to spike our blood sugar? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like this has to be a joke.
Anyone that has been on any level of keto diet for any length of time will know that it's not meat that causes a problem with your blood sugar. It's when you're eating, as you say, when you're shoveling the carbs down your neck.
Yeah. When I was on a ketovore type diet, my blood sugars were always in the range of 65 to 85, sometimes even lower, but usually 65 to 85. Sometimes they would get up in the 90s, and that was about as high as it would go. Never shut up over 100. If I ate a bowl of white rice, my blood sugar will shoot up to 160. I don't care if I eat a bunch of fiber with it. It doesn't seem to change it that much. You know, fiber will dent it a little bit, but fat doesn't increase your blood sugar. Protein, negligible. Carbs, huge. Fibers isn't going to negate that very much. So, again,
And the
it's
thing
just
is,
a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, as a result of eating just fat and protein, your energy is stable throughout the day.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't get those blood
When
sugar
you're shoveling
crashes.
when you're shoveling carbs down your neck, you never have the same minute to minute. Your energy levels are different.
Oh yeah, that's why everyone after they call it the post lunch, fatigue or whatever. You eat lunch, a couple hours later, you see everyone at work being like this, like sort of sleepy and trying to type and whatever. And I used to be like that at my old job. I was working at my desk, I'd eat my sandwich, have some fries for lunch or whatever. And 2 hours later, I'd feel like garbage. Never get that on a meat-based diet. So
yeah.
Oops.
our appetite, desire for eating. Vitamin K is a little bit trickier in terms of what it does. It definitely is an essential nutrient, but it has a bit more, less obvious, I guess, consequences in terms of a deficiency. But what I would say is that when you're thinking about deficiencies and the things you're missing, not all these things manifest immediately. The body's really good at what we call homeostasis, and homeostasis is keeping things in the normal situation.
There's also
just end it there. No description. Again, where do you get your vitamin K2 from? I'd love to have a debate with her. Where do you get your K2 from? It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I find the argument is so disingenuous as well. So, like, talking about homeostasis, your body's really good at covering up when things are wrong, and it's good at covering up when things are wrong for all those years that you're downing alcohol and fruits, high sugar fruits and all the processed carbs and everything else. And then, you get to your mid 40s, early 50s, and you go to the doctor and the doctor says, you got diabetes, son.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's such a silly argument, right? So I mean, all these there's a lot of people out there like yourself, when they cut out the carbohydrates and the fiber and all that crap, that's when they really start to thrive, and typically your body's pretty smart, and it's not going to make you feel better from leading a less healthy lifestyle and having a less healthy diet. Your body will signal to you that you're doing the wrong things. It'll send pain or give you neurological symptoms or whatever. being like, okay, we need to change our diet a little bit here,
Mm.
So, yeah, listen to your body.
A strain of argument from proponents of the carnivore diet, basically that nutrition science has kind of got it all wrong. There's like a big misunderstanding.
Oh, that's good. She's having a good laugh out of this one.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's so funny.
Huh.
And there's like an orthodoxy that that doesn't take account of new information that's emerging, and that they're kind of at the forefront of that. Now, obviously, that's a pretty big thing to debunk. But what do you say to that?
Well, I think every conspiracy theory starts with the idea that the experts have got it wrong and haven't done the research or have some.
Oh God. Well, I guess you can't think critically about anything. You just have to listen to the experts like this woman,
Yeah.
right?
So if you think critically about anything, you are a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
just listen
I
to this idiot.
yeah, I think I've realized what the laughter's about as well. It's like a feigned derisory laughter, like a condescension, like oh, these carnivore idiots, like the dietitian that I watched the other day as well, like the thing was the carnivore bros and all this kind of thing, and it's like this way of like being really condescending and belittling, and yeah, not a
Yeah,
fan.
well, I mean, look at her face right now,
Yeah.
If that's not something you want to punch, I shouldn't be saying that, but I just want to, seriously, man, seriously.
Some vested interests. But
Hold on. Vested interests. What's she talking about?
research or have some vested interests.
There's some vested interests. So this is one thing I typically hear about the meat and dairy industry, right? As if the meat and dairy industry, I mean, if you really look into it, the biggest lobby group with the most vested interests is big pharma. And who owns all of our agriculture? Who owns all of our plant agriculture? Big pharma, right? Monsanto. I mean, Monsanto spends more than the beef and dairy industry alone on their lobbying. So,
And Monsanto is now owned by a pharmaceutical company.
exactly, Bayer, yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah.
So if you're really looking at seeing where the interests come from, you should look to the plant-based interests, which has way more funding than beef and dairy lobby. So yeah.
But really, I think that comes from a misunderstanding of what nutrition science is.
Oh, okay. So we have a nutrition scientist here who says we have a misunderstanding. Let's hear what she has to say, Dave.
Okay.
So people think that there needs to be a randomized control trial, an intervention where we compare people on one diet to people on another diet to know what is a healthy diet to recommend for people.
Oh, God forbid we should look for some causal evidence, but okay.
Yeah. Stop looking.
But that's actually a very impractical, high-cost, unethical, and almost impossible way of doing things, because we can't randomize people into those diets for a very long-term study.
100, yeah, exactly. Why you have no causal evidence at all in nutrition science. It's all there. I mean, there's millions of confounders, right? It's just,
Yeah. It's impossible to say that this particular diet, whether it's whatever kind of diet it is, it's impossible to pinpoint one particular thing as that's what caused this problem in this group of people.
yeah.
You can only,
I mean, healthy user bias plays such a huge role in that. And basically all they really have is epidemiology showing that people who eat at McDonald's, which is, I think I read something like 35% of the American public eat fast food, I think, on a daily basis. So basically what they have is, people who eat at McDonald's every day, and, they're meat eaters, but they don't have any studies on people who just eat grass-fed meat with no buns or Coke or cake or bullshit to go along with it.
exactly. That's the problem. It's all that stuff that's going along with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why the nutrition science is complete bullshit, and people who eat fast food. And what's fast food? Of course, fast food, 99% of it's made up of burgers and that kind of bullshit. And, of course, those aren't the healthiest. They're not the most health conscious people around. They don't exercise. They might live in like poor areas. They're not affluent. They don't have money, for a healthier lifestyle. So there's so much that goes into that, right?
Yeah.
So
And
we don't make decisions in nutrition off the back of single studies or segregating people into different groups. We make decisions based on the body of evidence, a large amount of evidence, a great number of studies. So we don't typically study people on the carnivore diet because that would be unethical, because we know from the body of evidence that we have already that putting people on a carnivore diet could do them harm. So it would be
That might be the
this is all
dumbest
just
thing.
BS.
That it might be the actual dumbest thing I've ever heard anyone say, especially coming from a nutritionist. So we don't have any evidence showing that a carnivore diet's bad for you because we can't study it. So therefore we can't study people on a carnivore diet. We're just relying on a body of evidence that includes carbohydrates and junk in their diet and blaming it on the meat.
Yeah.
It's basically what she's
So
saying.
of
That we
course
need to
it's
go
the
by that
meat.
evidence.
Of course it couldn't be the plant-based stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and there was actually one study on a carnivore diet. It was all epidemiology, like every observational studies, like every other, dietary study. But there was one done out of Harvard, and it vastly improved the health outcomes of virtually everybody who was on the diet. It vastly improved outcomes with diabetes, pain conditions. What else? There's a whole bunch of different types of conditions in there that it improved. So,
yeah. I mean, I'd believe it. A month or so after going on this diet, it was literally like flicking a switch.
Did you
and,
go
and
through?
problems just stopped.
Did you go through some side effects when you first started it?
Well, I had one of the side effects was the runs, but that was because that's because I went into keto, and the particular vegetables I was eating were not agreeing with me, and that's how I fell into carnivore, just by cutting out the vegetables to get rid of that problem. But apart from that, I mean, I don't think I really experienced anything that heavy.
No.
I mean, there's of course, the feeling when you first start, like, oh, I really want to have a piece of bread, or I really want to have that bowl of rice, or whatever. But apart from the cravings, nothing really.
What made you stick out? What made you stick it out and not give in to the cravings? Because a lot of people have a hard time not giving in.
I'd started and fallen off, and started and fallen off, and started and fallen off keto for about a year at that point. I'd been trying to get it on because I knew I had to do something. But this time was a little bit different because my doctor had told me, probably, it looks like you're pre-diabetic, and also you need to go on this drug to, basically stop being an alcoholic. And the sound of the drug he wanted me to put on was not pleasant, and sound quite risky. And I just said to him, look, can I have a bit of time to try and fix this myself? And he agreed to let me have 2 or 3 weeks to fix things myself. And so I just did what I knew, which was keto. And because of what the vegetables were doing to me, it became carnivore, and the rest is history.
So you lost a lot of weight.
Mm.
You feel way better, or like mentally and physically, you feel way better.
Yeah. Arthritis is gone.
Arthritis is gone.
Gum disease is gone. What else? The gum disease thing was I realized that had disappeared, but I realized it disappearing in stages. So the first thing I noticed was the bleeding had gone, the sensitivity in my gums had gone. And that would have been about maybe 2 months in. And then a few weeks after that, I realized the bad breath that goes along with gum disease is gone because my wife is no longer doing this when I talk to her.
Yeah.
And it was just like the first, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months of being on the carnivore diet, there was just like this almost weekly realization of something new. Oh, yeah, that's not a problem anymore. And yeah, so I mean, now when I listen to someone like this nutritionist here talking about why we need particular vitamins that can only be found in vegetables, or we need fiber or something, it just seems so ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's not do any studies on people who only eat meat because
Mm.
it could be too dangerous for them, even though we have no studies showing anything of the sort, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
really, but we do have societies out there like the Maasai and Aboriginal communities who go for months at a time without eating any fruits and vegetables. Again, are they getting scurvy? Are they dying? Are they getting fiber? No, they're getting no fiber. I mean, any northern populations in the past would have had to go several months without eating any plant products, right?
Mm.
So, and where's the evidence that they were in worse health? You know,
Yeah.
where's the evidence that we are in worse health? Well, there's more rampant diabetes. I mean, diabetes is a pretty much a modern disease.
Mm.
Cancer, autoimmunity is on the rise like
That's
crazy.
there. It's all lifestyle diseases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah. And which this woman's on, you could just tell by looking at her. I mean, she's on track to getting there herself if she doesn't
Yes.
already,
I
and
mean,
she's,
I can just imagine what her diet is like. Like she gets up in the morning, she has maybe some fruit and cereal and all that kind of thing. On the way to this interview, she stopped and she got a muffin and a Starbucks coffee or
yeah,
something. And then,
as long as she's not
after the
eating meat.
interview, she's going to go out for lunch and she's going to have some plant-based burger made with soy and vegetable oils and all this kind of thing. And it's like she thinks it's healthy, but
Yeah.
it's going to catch up with her.
Yeah. I have a lot of people in my life who, are living in the matrix like she is, like my mother-in-law who like chastises me for eating a mostly meat-based diet. And she said, oh, it's going to kill you. But while she's telling me that, she's eating her Cheerios, and
Mm.
her almond milk with canola oil in it, and she has like thyroid issues. She has high blood pressure, and they don't connect it to diet. They think it's all just genetic or it's just
Yeah.
random, as if there's
It's
no
just
connection.
aging. It's just part of
It's
aging.
just part of aging, right? But
I think that's one of the worst things that they've managed to make us feel, that if as you age, you just get sick.
yeah,
That's the way it is.
that's just the way you just get heart disease, you get cancer. That's just what
Mm.
happens. Has nothing to do with the food you've been eating for decades. Has nothing to do with your lifestyle. Has nothing to do with the stress or environmental toxins or anything like that. It's just all just random.
Mm.
Just part of your genetics. Just, you just have the luck of the draw. But it's weird because
Yeah.
these ancestral communities, have virtually none of these modern day diseases. Like, I mean,
Right.
there's studies have been done on this. I mean, if you look at the study of the Maasai, they don't have autoimmunity. Literally
Mm.
a population of zero autoimmunity.
Mm.
So what does that tell you? You know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. A perfect autoimmune example is eczema, right? I
eczema.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
this year I haven't suffered from eczema,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's I think the only thing I can put it down to is the change in diet.
Yeah. You're not eating all those fermentable carbohydrates, right?
Mm.
Which are supposedly fueling good bacteria. But guess what? If they feel good bacteria, they also feel bad bacteria.
Mm.
So take your pick, But I can't, like, if I eat FODMAPs or I eat a lot of high fiber diet or anything like that, my stomach just blows up. It's terrible. Not even a high fiber diet, even a low fiber diet, my stomach doesn't do well. It's never done well with that.
Yeah.
So, I think different strokes for different folks. I don't really care what people eat. If you want to eat a vegan diet, that's great. It's no skin off of my back. But at the same time, you have some idiots out here like this nutritionist that are actually doing public harm. They're killing people.
Mm. Yeah.
They're killing people because
Because
they're
people
eating.
look up to her, right?
Yeah.
And they think she's speaking from a position of authority, so we should believe her.
Yeah. But
Mm.
she talks about corporate interest. I mean, this woman is bought and paid for by corporate interest. She just doesn't realize it. She's not smart enough
Yeah.
to realize that Monsanto pays for her salary to spew off all this nonsense. Oh, this is why you have to go plant-based. Eat Monsanto products.
Yeah.
Douse your food in glyphosate and all this other crap. So
Yeah.
it's such a racket, man. It's such a racket. So like I said before, Monsanto spends more on their lobbying alone. Just this one corporation, they spend more on their lobbying than the meat and dairy industry combined. It's crazy. It's crazy if you think about it, right? And if you look at all these plant-based products, I mean, that's what's killing people. These Beyond Meat burgers and that stuff. I think the worst I saw, there was a vegan sushi. Have you seen that?
That sounds disgusting.
Vegan sushi.
I hadn't seen it, but just the thought of it, it just sounds disgusting.
I gotta look this up. Keep talking, Dave. keep us entertained
So,
while I look this up.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, this is kind of stuff that's all designed like this is an ethical thing, right? It's like we are vegan because most of the vegans are becoming vegan because they feel like we can't hurt an animal or something, right? We shouldn't be, yeah. But then why pretend that you've got animal foods? I just don't get it. It's like,
isn't it so stupid? So look at this. Introducing GTFO's flagship line of vegan sashimi under our new Great Foods vegan label. Never before seen in the US. 100% plant-based sashimi created of konjac.
Cognac. Oh,
sorry,
God.
cognac. I don't even know what the fuck
that's
that
one
is.
of the worst. That's one of the worst things that. Oh, that's horrible.
Look, do you see this ingredient list?
Oh, God.
Water, hydroxypropyl, distarch phosphate, trehalose, desorbitol, cognac flour, carrageenan, locust bean gum, calcium hydroxide, sodium 5-inosinate, sodium 5-guanylate. See, this is the type of shit that's causing cancer. It's not sashimi that's causing cancer and disease.
Yeah.
These vegan products are causing cancer disease. The further you get away from nature, the sicker you get. And the further you get away from the diet that we're supposed to eat and that we've evolved on, the sicker you get, like this woman. This woman's going to be dead within 20 years because of the diet that she eats.
When you think about it, right, all of these things, they're on a list, right? They're on the list with whatever the authority is in the US. That's like the generally regarded as safe list, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean those things are safe. I mean, trans fats were on that list before.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's part of the whole reason why saturated fats were demonized to begin with. Because Crisco launched this big campaign saying, oh, don't eat trans fat, eat our vegetable oils, which are way better for you. And we've learned that that's just absolute nonsense. That stuff, it kills you. It's trans fat that is making people so sick. And all these oxidized oils that people are eating now, sunflower oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, all this bullshit that oxidizes when it's heated or exposed to light. And that's what's causing cancer. Seed oils are so bad for you.
And the process of making these things is disgusting.
Oh yeah, they bleach it, they deodorize it,
Yeah.
they cut it with what was it? They use these solvents like hexane and yeah.
So it's like if you really knew where all this stuff, how all this stuff was produced, you wouldn't touch it.
No.
And like, would anyone seriously believe that an oil that they're frying with that's being cleaned in a petroleum-based substance is good for them?
Yeah.
But
as opposed
no
to
one really thinks about it.
As opposed to meat fat, which is what we've always used to cook with, tallow and lard. No, that's going to kill you. All the stable fats that don't oxidize when they're heated or oxidize when they're exposed to light, that's what's going to kill you. It's the cheap, shitty oils that we've never eaten before throughout our entire existence. That's what you want to be eating, Dave.
I've got a little bit of a weird theory about how demonizing saturated fat was quite easy, because let's say you've been cooking in saturated fat, and you pour that down the sink after you finish cooking, so it's still in a semi-liquid form, and you pour it down the sink. What's going to happen to your sink? It's going to get blocked up, right? And I think people, like, that's just something people know, or knew at least, right? And of course vegetable oils don't do that, right? So it's not hard to imagine people making the leap and going, if it does that to the sink, imagine what it does to my arteries.
Oh, I've heard this argument before.
And obviously that doesn't happen that way, but yeah, like you can imagine so many people actually going, yeah, well, that's what's happening. As if when you eat a sausage, the sausage gets stuck in your veins or something, as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh God, the stupidity is just it's insane. It's insane.
But I think the food manufacturers or the food manufacturers take advantage of stuff like that,
Yeah.
Well, that's what they think, so let's just not say anything.
Yeah. Have you heard about Just Egg, which is one that, so I don't know if I ever told you the story.
Just Egg.
Yeah. So I don't know if I told you the story. I went to this person's place for brunch one time. Is for her kid's birthday party. And they're vegan. Their whole family's vegan. They forced their kids to be vegan. And they had a bunch of different egg dishes, they had them labeled. They had all the foods labeled. And one of the labels was just
Sounds
egg.
like a fun environment.
Well, one of the labels was just egg. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh, well, this is nice, because when I have a party, I'll have some vegan options, because I like to cater to all my guests, not just one subset of my guests. Of course, vegans can't do that, right? They can't have meat on their menu. So I was like, oh, maybe they'll be nice by just putting just egg. I was eating it and I was like, this tastes fucking weird. What is this? And I approached her after. I said, what is this? I thought it was maybe powdered egg. And she's like, it's just egg. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you never heard the brand Just Egg? She's like, it's a really famous like vegan egg brand. And I'm like, no. I look at the ingredient list and I swear to God, I felt nauseous to my stomach. I was like, I can't believe I just ate this chemical concoction that vegans are apparently, like, grocery stores sell out of this immediately. Again, why they need, these meat-based vegan recipes or whatever you want to call them makes no sense to me, because their bodies are craving meat so bad,
They've got to pretend.
Right. Yeah. So I got to show you the ingredients list on this one too. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Just egg. Here we go. Water, mung bean protein, expeller pressed canola oil,
Oh,
gelling gum or gelling gum, carrot extracts, extractives, turmeric extractives, tapioca syrup solids, which is just sugar, more sugar, tetrasodium pyrophosphate, transglutamase, and niacin. Have you heard of any of this
it's
shit before?
it's pretty bad when you can't understand or you can't pronounce the majority of the ingredients in a product. Like that says a lot, right?
Yeah. And this has to be a troll company. These vegan companies have to be a troll companies because look where I'm pointing my clicker here. Made in a facility that processes egg.
That's ridiculous.
Isn't that funny? Made
That's
in a
like saying
facility
that's
that
like a
processes
pack.
egg.
That's like a packet of peanuts that says may contain peanuts.
Yeah.
It's
And it's called just egg. It's called just egg. Like this has to be a troll company. It has to be troll. There's no way
yeah,
this could be for real.
that's awful. Mung bean
Yeah.
protein sounds delicious.
But they're just dying for these meat-based products
I,
because they're so deficient in nutrients that they're just
mm,
dying for it, you know?
yeah.
Anyway, fun
Did
times.
you ever watch a show called The Young Ones from Britain?
No.
Oh, okay. You got to check that out one day. It's four guys, four university guys living together, and one of them is like a hippie. And every time I read things like mung bean protein or soy extract or something, I just think of, the hippie, the long hair, and it's like vegetable rights and
Yeah,
peace.
let's get some mung bean protein, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta love the mung bean protein. I've never even heard of that shit. But yeah, I'm sure it's probably not very good for you. And I'm sure it probably
Mm,
doesn't have much protein in it.
no. No,
Anyway, Dave.
there's bound to be more mung than protein. So it's
Oh God. Anyway, Dave, I loved having you
Uh,
on. Wait, let's have another one. Everybody
yeah, we should
follow
do an
Dave.
idiot series. We should do an idiot series.
Exactly. Hopefully I'll have my voice back from not yelling at vegans so much. But we should have a whole idiot series. You're right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to, label this correctly. But I highly suggest everybody follow Dave. No carb life. No carb life or zero carb life.
No carb life or
No carb
at
life.
zero carb. Yeah.
At zero. I always get it confused. Okay. So follow Dave, get him up to 1 billion subscribers by end of month. And we'll come back at you soon. Thanks so much, guys.